Well,
All right. Welcome to STR Intel, where we share insights and tips on, what's working with vacation rentals, what's not working with, some of our vacation rentals. We're in Colorado. We're based out of Colorado Springs and also Scottsdale, Arizona. So we have, a good mix of properties and, tips and insights that we can share. Craig, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself? Happy Friday.
Good, doing really, really good. Happy Friday. So we have a question here that we get asked a lot. It's a loaded question, but we're gonna try to cover it in a few different from a few different angles. But the questions people ask is like, hey, is Colorado a good place to buy a short-term rental? Like is this, I don't know. There's so many places in Colorado. We're in Colorado Springs, but we've kind of looked around for other places to expand, and so maybe some of the research that we did as we were looking to expand can kind of help people make that decision, which brings me to the one thing that we should say with before we get started, which is none of this is financial advice. Please consult your own financial advisor. All investments are risky. And so, with that being said, let's talk about this question, right? Is Colorado a good place to invest in vacation rentals? And I think the first thing that you know, I would want people to ask is, to be able to give a good answer is this solely going to be an investment property? Like, are you just looking to find the best performing market? You're looking solely at ROI, or are you looking to buy a vacation rental because you plan on using it? And, so maybe the ROI may not be there, but hey, if you get to, use the home and get enjoyment out of it, and then, rent it out to either offset the cost or whatever, right? Those are like kind of like two different paths. So I guess that would be kind of like the first distinction that we would have to make. So you have a little bit of a personal experience with that. You want to share a little bit of your
Yeah,
story?
absolutely. First, I'll say if I had $1 for every time I got asked that question, I could afford a very nice vacation rental. But so I mean, I'm going through a similar situation. I'm looking to purchase a vacation rental with my stepfather, and obviously, I live here in Colorado Springs, so it would make sense. I could easily do an in Colorado Springs, but I want to get something a little outside of the Springs where I can enjoy it for that leisurely activity as well. And same with him. My family lives in Wisconsin, so coming up here and going to Woodland Park, Divide, Lake George, that's completely different out of the element of Wisconsin. And even for me in Colorado Springs, sneak away on a Tuesday night to get up in the mountains and get away from the city. It sounds amazing. So I'm one of those people where my goals are interwoven with my personal leisure. I want it to make ROI, and I also want to have that oasis retreat in the mountain for when I get sick of traffic and neighbors and all that good stuff too. So and you can't factor that into a financial spreadsheet. I mean, it'll show up as an expense or a deduction if anything, but there's an added value there. And so many people that come across our lead funnel in Colorado Springs are looking because they want to do that. They're like, oh, we visited Colorado Springs and we loved it there. We want to come once a year for a week and rent it out and give other people that same experience that we had. So that's a very common driving factor for people, frankly, when they're looking to do an investment.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, like you said, like you can't really put a price on that. So if you're able to buy a vacation home that you're going to use, and you're just having it be paid for by others, I guess, on the off time when you're not using it, just about anywhere in Colorado, I guess it would be more on a personal preference. So it would be more about going out and exploring and finding like, hey, what would be a good area that I want to vacation. And so with that being said, this is kind of where it gets mixed in, and understanding that there's different parts of Colorado that have different seasonalities. So for example, in Colorado Springs, our high season is summers, right? So we have a lot of summer visitors, a lot of summer activities, but in the winter time, we're not as busy. We're pretty slow because most of the activity moves over to places like Breckenridge, and you have your winter park, other parts of Colorado. And so kind of starts to like, this is what makes us look more into like, okay, what's like the actual performance on the market, and now we start to look into things that maybe some people may not think about or know about, which has to do more with like local regulations and what's the competition in the market, right? So like for example with Breckenridge, we looked at expanding into Breckenridge. We have currently a little, are we at 200 properties roughly? We're
We're flirting at that line, so it depends on the day. We're 205 or 197.
like
So
we're onboarding some properties that we're gonna hit if we haven't already, the 200 property mark. But we were looking at Breckenridge as a market that we wanted to expand, and the reason why we didn't choose Breckenridge is because of permitting. So, Craig, do you want to speak a little bit on that? Like, what
yeah.
were some of the issues?
So as we were looking into it, I did a deep dive in the market to see what it looked like. Would this be a good move for us as a company? And the biggest block, if you will, for that was the number of already permitted vacation homes. So you hear Breckenridge, that's one of your name brand resorts. People all over the country, I want to go to Breckenridge and snowboard ski. So it is very popular. It's got that name recognition. And with that comes the I guess in this case, I'll use the word oversaturation, because there is currently 3,768 active short-term rentals in Breckenridge. So back in, I believe, the 2019 timeframe, they imposed a cap of 2,200. So as you can see, they're already over that. So
Yeah.
meaning they're not approving anymore. And once these permits lapse in their renewal or what have you, they sell the home, those permits are just going to cease to exist. So, for us as a company, the only way that we would get a presence in there is we'd have to buy these vacation rentals or management companies. And, some sales or municipalities don't transfer the license with that anyway. So they, may just dissolve those. So that was a leading factor as of why we didn't. And the rating, so when we talk about a rating for a city or a municipality, it's based on A, B, C, D, E, F rating, and that takes in consideration the ADR, the average daily rate, the occupancy, and the number of short-term rentals within that city limits. So Breckenridge was, in this case, a B, which you'd think it'd be better. It's a name brand ski resort, but you look at it, there's a drastic seasonality to it. And that would have been the play for us to, coach our homeowners like, hey, do you want to balance and offset this seasonality with Colorado Springs? Buy up there. But, in investment sake, and like I said, we don't give investment advice, we just give insight to what we see, but we were seeing that wouldn't be a good move because it would be extremely hard to get into that market. And it's only a B. So I mean, for perspective, Colorado Springs is a B minus, and a lot of the surrounding cities with next to Colorado Springs, they're in that B rating as well. So just some food for thought there. But we obviously retracted our Summit County and looked at Scottsdale.
Right, exactly. And this kind of brings up a couple of really good points that for us especially, like we wouldn't go primarily by a rating given by like AirDNA or some of these other analytics tools, because there's different ways, I guess, of looking at the market. For example, like in Breckenridge, and this is what may confuse people, where people may hear like, oh, Breckenridge is like a good place to invest, but it's kind of like, well, if you're brand new, like getting into the market, like there's difficulty. Now, if you're already there, then yeah, like you're sitting pretty well. And it's
Yep.
kind of similar in Colorado Springs, right? Because there the number of permits, and there's all the issues there, I guess, with ways that the supply is, I guess, being capped, which again, for people that already have a permit, it's good. And so even in Colorado Springs, some of the better areas that we've seen that are, for someone that's coming into the market, would probably be on the outskirts, on places outside, just immediately outside your places like Cascade, Monument, Woodland Park, right? And so we kind of see a similar thing with some of these other markets where if there's a market where there's already a lot of short-term rentals and there's permitting issues, some of the opportunities right now are on the outskirts.
Yep.
there's
Well,
the seasonality that you mentioned, right? Like the reason why we went to Scottsdale versus Breckenridge, um, we saw a little bit of a better opportunity when it comes to like the entry point and like the whole permitting, but we're trying to offset the seasonality. So that was like the decision. Now going back to the outskirts on the cities, this is another thing that you may want to keep in mind because of regulations, right? Just because a city right now may be sitting good where, hey, this is a place to like where you can buy a vacation rental and start it out and there's no real, I guess, regulations or permitting issues at this moment, that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case for the future. So, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on in, Woodland Park?
absolutely. Yeah, and back to my personal story too. I'm, for that reason, looking outside of city limits and just staying abreast to what could be going on in the county. Because side note there, the county can enforce restrictions as well, where sometimes the city says, yeah, short-term rentals are okay, but then the county will say absolutely not. So unincorporated, Douglas County, for instance, they didn't have any restrictions and they were working in a process to getting some. But just keep in mind on that. But me personally, I'm looking, unincorporated Teller County. I was fortunate to be able to attend the city council meeting for Woodland Park and sit through that. And we actually spoke at it this last, I think it was October 20th. But update on Woodland Park. So I'm sure a lot of people have been paying attention because there is 161 active short-term rentals within the city limits of Woodland Park. So, it was kind of cool to see the community come together and speak on behalf of short-term rentals at this meeting. And I guess I'll retract a little bit. So on September 29th, the moratorium for short-term rentals in Woodland Park city limits got extended till December 15th. And then they're going to revisit it. So the idea is to have, an ordinance or regulations figured out, pen to paper, ink is dry by December 15th. So we'll see if that happens or not, because they had a plan from the planning committee on what the rollout would look like, and it was a cap on short-term rentals in specific to zone, and get the license, pay the lodging tax, all that. So they had regulations drawn up, and then they kind of pulled a 180. So the pre-amended version of the ordinance includes the amendments that will remove the cap on short-term rentals and not allow short-term rentals to be permitted in the suburban residential areas. So that is saying that, basically they were just going to let the permits expire and then not renew them. So that got a lot of people's attention. Whereas the 20th, when we were there and spoke, there's 39 people scheduled to speak at the city council meeting. And can imagine some people get very passionate about these things, and frankly they should. That's the platform to say your opinion, and
Yeah.
city council sat there and listened to it. And I am guessing and just giving my best interpretation of how it went, but my speculation to it is that they're going to go back to that original version where they are gonna do the grandfather clause and then have these regulations of so many percent of short-term rentals per zone. Because some off-the-cuff stats that I did, the profound tourist impact to the city of Woodland Park, it was amazing. When I put pen to paper, estimated $13 million spent on tourism in Woodland Park by these travelers coming there in local restaurants, bars, shops. So that's a huge impact. And these small businesses in Woodland Park are still struggling after COVID. That would cut them out at the knees. So I spoke on that when I had my 3 minutes, and I'm hoping it made a difference. And nobody is saying don't have regulations in these cities. It's just have common sense ones that people can work with. And especially when you were getting permits and regulating it for years and then pulling a 180, like, nope, you can't do it anymore. So, but yeah, I mean, they haven't released an update after that yet, but the recording is available. If you guys do want to stay the utmost to date on Woodland Park, What's Up Woodland, if you Google that, that's what I've been doing. And they have the recording of the last city council meeting there. So stay tuned.
It's part of the risk of finding these markets, is that you may do your initial research and everything looks peachy, and all of a sudden you can, get the rug pulled from under. But I
And
think
that's why
that
you should hire a management company like Hosty to stay tuned.
exactly right. Staying up, but I think this is also like a good, uh, I guess a call for people that are interested in vacation rentals. That if wherever you decide, if you do buy a vacation rental, if you have a vacation rental already, to get involved with your local communities, not just municipalities, but also like the local communities. Like, who are all the businesses that are, um, you know, benefiting, I guess, from the tourism that is coming in through your vacation rentals, and start to build those communities, because you never know when regulations are going to want to be changed. You're going to need people, and that's kind of like the thing with Woodland Park. We've been here for years, and out of nowhere, it just seems like, hey, this is a little bit of a threat that
Yep.
it's just recent out of nowhere. Like, we weren't exactly anticipating it, and that's the thing. It's like, if this happens here, trust me, this is coming to a city near you.
Yep, absolutely. And it's, I always take stuff on Facebook with a grain of salt, but, if you are a homeowner or an investor, even if you have a management company, there's local groups in every city, I imagine, all the ones around here anyway, where, you can stay tuned to, like somebody heard this. So I wouldn't, like I said, solely go off of that, hear that, then dig into it a little bit more with your own sources. But,
Yeah,
I'm a part of numerous groups around, El Paso, Teller County, just to stay, in tune with any local legislation or inklings that things may change. So
yeah,
it's vital that you do, because if you sit there and wait, when the moratorium got imposed in Woodland Park and Colorado Springs, even, people had an opportunity to get the license, get the permit, and then they're grandfathered in. Now, if your head was under a rock and you didn't hear any of that, you just lost your side business, your passive income. That's now a long-term rental instead of a short-term. So definitely encourage people to stay in tune. There's so much stuff on Facebook. Put some educational stuff in there.
yeah. Exactly. And so let's switch gears a little bit, and talk about maybe some other markets that that people may be looking into. I guess it's interesting, because like, doing all the analytics for where people are searching for vacations, for vacation rentals on the guest side. I've been able to see that a lot of people are looking at the Front Range, and with the Front Range, I'm talking everywhere from up north, Fort Collins, kind of like east of Rocky Mountain National Park. Denver's obviously like a very popular, I guess, entry hub, I guess we will call it. And then Colorado Springs is also a very popular entry hub. So these are kind of like some of the more, where the most amount of traffic is going to come, if not to visit, at least come through to go to other parts into Colorado. And so this is kind of like one of the decisions. Like, if you're looking for volume, like, those will be areas to look at. But there's other opportunities, like little towns that you may not even be aware of, or maybe surprised how good at. So do you want to speak on that? Like, what are some of these smaller little towns maybe that are kind of surprising? And
Absolutely. And I mean, I'll start out by saying one that really surprised me. And I'm not saying go invest in this town by any means, but it was just some surprising stats to look at. So Pueblo, that's a question I get asked all the time. You guys manage in Pueblo. Should we buy down in Pueblo? And I mean, I give a very non-committal answer, just give the data, the stats, because it is unknown. But looking at this, it was a B plus rating. So like I said, that factors in the daily rate, the occupancy, and number of homes. So number of homes is a huge determining factor here. Pueblo has 226 active listings, which is not a lot. So perspective, Colorado Springs, 2,687. And when I say that, you got to realize how big Colorado Springs is as a city. And that also factors in, your basement dwelling unit that's being rented out. So that's active listings as a whole, but nonetheless, that's a huge, huge difference. So, when you are looking at that, depending on what your goals are, maybe Pueblo wouldn't be a bad place to invest. But
yeah,
alternatively, Cascade, we're seeing growth, like I said, outside of Woodland Park, and Divide, even Lake George is picking up some steam. where I coach people, when they are looking, and again, I'm going to give the stats, the data. I'm going to show all my work as of why. I'm not going to give just blind recommendations, but
Right.
Cascade is a leading driver, in the market, and then places like Fountain. So Fountain doesn't sound like it's got the appeal. It doesn't, Colorado Springs, but Fountain is essentially a suburb of Colorado Springs. And when people are coming here from Texas and Kansas, they're driving,
Right.
20-minute drive to Garden of the Gods. That doesn't seem like much.
Right.
And mind you, Fountain does have a permitting process as well, but nonetheless, it's a secondary market that I would say is picking up steam.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's so many attractions in Colorado that sometimes people coming in, they're looking for some of the major ones, and so that may be the decision that they are using to see where they're going to stay. And I think with Fountain, one of the reasons that at least I speculate why it's picking up steam is because there's a lot more people becoming aware of, like the Royal Gorge, like
Yep.
all those attractions going on that way. And so for people that want to go down that way, that may be a place going down towards Pueblo, Alamos, and some of these other more of like the southern part of Colorado. There's some really good spots over there. But this kind of brings up another point where with Colorado, like the appeal to get a property that's kind of like remote may sound good, but there's other things to consider because some of these towns, the issue there is who's going to do the maintenance, who's going to do the cleaning. It's like
Yep.
who's going to help with the actual management operation side. So do you want to speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, and I mean, I always phrase it that's an inchworm game for us when we're going to a new market, because we want to find the good quality cleaning partner, and then a backup for them, then a backup for the backup, and then a local handyman team that we can rely on in case our maintenance can't get out there for an emergency. And it's been seemingly hard to get that infrastructure and people you can trust. So it's crucial. I mean, because you cannot effectively manage a home more than an hour away without having those local boots on the ground, and knowing that they're going to take care of the issue, because it's your name on it. It's whatever management company you're using, or you the homeowner, that's your name, your reputation online. They're not gonna go to Airbnb and complain about Jane Doe's cleaning service or Jack Doe's handyman service that didn't fill a maintenance request. They're going after you. So that infrastructure, I can't stress it enough. It's vital to get those partners you can rely on and trust in these other areas as you expand.
Right, right. And I think this one is probably a bigger one, more for the people that are looking to buy a vacation rental that they want to use. They may be looking at some of these remote locations because it's where they want to be. But that's something else to consider. It's like, hey, just because you want to be there, and sure, there may be other people that will book there, and it may be a good location from that standpoint. But what would be the decision maker, I guess, would be, can you find people to help you, with it, unless you're looking to self-manage and you're maybe somewhere near the area. But yeah, so I guess that's one of the reasons why I think, no matter what, you want to probably stay to some of the bigger markets and at least, make sure that you have that infrastructure.
Well, and this might be, topic for another podcast, but I have the stats handy. So I'll, Sam, because these are fresh as of Monday, talking about where to buy, another important segue. And like I said, maybe we can elaborate this further on another one, but it's what to buy. So,
Mhm.
again, depending on what your goals are, but this is just a breakdown of, bedroom count that, as of Monday was current for Douglas, Teller, and El Paso County. We had 20% of the, I believe it's 2,900 listings, are one bedrooms, 30% are two bedrooms, 23% are three bedrooms, and it goes down to 14 for four bedrooms. So we talked on that a lot on the marketing side of things in our marketing meeting. What families are or what's our customer avatar, what are we
Yeah.
seeing for a demographic of people traveling, and there is a need for those larger 3-4 bedroom homes, because we're seeing a lot of 5 to 8 travelers, and 3 generations of family getting together for their yearly trip. So again, based off those stats, I would say, look at the numbers. You're going to have less competition with a 4 bedroom than you would with a 2.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I mean, I think that's definitely an entire podcast that we can talk about is you know, if you're an investor, it's like what's the best property that you should be, you know, going after, understanding like the different customer segments. There's a lot of demand for, you know, for some of these smaller homes. Some of the bigger homes do have like a better ROI, and so there's kind of like a mix of things that we have to look at, but we can kind of dive into that on the next episode. I think for this, we've covered pretty much everything that I had in mind.
yeah,
At least. Is there anything else that maybe you want to touch on?
not that I can think of, but as always, if anyone has any questions or items that they'd like to dig into further, please let us know. Let us know in the comments. We're more than willing to dig into and speak on anything. We could talk about this stuff all day if you let us. So
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Well, I guess that's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we definitely look forward to seeing you on the next one. Leave us a comment. Let us know, you know, what your thoughts are. If you're looking into, you know, any markets, if you're looking in Colorado Springs, that's where we're at. If you're looking for, you know, someone to help you, not just manage your property, well, we do a lot more than that. We help you optimize your listing. We help you, you know, figure out how to get the most out of your property. We have a lot of data, you know, so that's why, you know, at STR Intel, that's what we're doing, is we're trying to find the best information to help you get the most out of your vacation rental.
awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right, see ya.